Welcome to the agenda setting session for the day for Tuesday, March the 17th, 2026. The time is 6 p.m. And at this particular time, before we get started, we'd like to read our stability pledge. The way we govern ourselves is often as important as the positions we take. Our collective decision will be better when different views have had the opportunity to be fully vetted and considered. All people have the right to be treated with respect, courtesy, and openness. We value all input. We commit to conduct ourselves at all times with civility and courtesy to each other. I just want to remind the public, if business has not been conducted by 8:15, there will be a 15-minute break. First things on our agenda tonight, we have 4 things on the consent agenda tonight. For public input, if you wish to address the mayor and commission on any item listed below on the consent agenda, please go to the podium and state your name and address. Rules of the commission states that members of the public may speak once during the following portion of the agenda, up to 3 minutes, with a 30-second reminder at 2.5 minutes. So you'll see the light will go green, and at 30 seconds go yellow, and then red means your 3 minutes will be up. So at this particular time, is there anybody from the public that would like to address the 4 items on the consent agenda? Okay. Are there any commissioners that want to remove anything from the consent agenda before we move into?
I want to add to it.
You want to add to it?
I want to, number 4, just for a question.
Okay, number 4.
Likewise.
Okay. Anything else? I'll come back to you, Commissioner Wright. Anything else on the consent agenda? And what would you like to add, Commissioner?
Well, when we get going on the other items,
Okay,
maybe we can add some more to the consent
Okay.
when we go over the new business.
okay, all right. We also have one planning item, which is item number 5. So at this time, we'll go ahead and go through item 1 on the consent. We're gonna do our public planning right now. So I'll be moving down. We have one item, which is request of Scott Haines and WA Engineers, owner of the high-tech engineer for rezoning from industrial with conditions to industrial, special use permit, and industrial for level 3, industrial concrete batch plant on 10.14 sub-acres known as 330 Old Hall Road. Proposed use of the concrete batch plant, and that's in Commissioner Thornton's district, District 9. So I'm gonna move down for a minute, and we'll go over that.
All right. So our lone zoning item from the Planning Commission meeting of March 5th is the 330 Old Hall Road request. This is a 2-part request. The applicant's asking to change the zoning on the property, and then should that be approved, they're asking for special use permit consideration for the precise use, the concrete batch plant, because that was determined to be a level 3 industrial use, which requires special use approval to move forward. It's an aerial view of the property at 330 Old Hall Road. Still remains extremely wooded. Sits next to a Georgia Power installation and is just down the road from GDOT's office. And this would show you the change. The current zoning is I with a condition. The request would be to take the I condition away and to add a special use approval to allow for the concrete batch plant. Future land use would not change, it would stay employment. And so here's the concept plan, and this is the plan that would become binding if the special use permit is approved. The current zoning on the property, the I with the condition was related to a previously approved use for essentially a tipping floor for solid waste. This was a waste transfer facility approved in the early 2000s with a series of conditions that never came to be. And so this current applicant is interested in the property for having a small batch concrete plant, the kind that you might see when GDOT is doing projects up and down 441 or around the state, but this would stay here permanently and would serve a number of projects in our region. Planning Commission's evaluation found that it was compatible with the 2023 comprehensive plan, compatible with the future land use map, the zoning map, and the ordinance. And they also, in the consideration of the special use request, they found that the special use criteria had been satisfied for the batch plant. So they recommended approval of the rezone and approval of the special use permit with conditions. And those conditions are as follows: that the original second condition from the 2004 rezone should be retained. And that condition was all the site design standards applicable to the EI, employment industrial, kind of our light industrial zone, would apply after the rezoning to I. So that helps minimize some of the impact. The applicant has indicated that they could work with that condition. That condition was originally placed on there in 2004 because of downwind concerns from some of the residential areas that are nearby. Not adjacent, but I believe within a half mile or so. The second condition is that the property shall be limited to uses permitted in the EI zone, except for the specific use requested for the special use permit. So that would mean essentially they have I zoning. All the EI uses would be allowed by right. The special use would allow for the concrete batch plant, and that's it. And so that is the Planning Commission recommendation for approval of the rezone, approval of the conditions of the special use permit as proposed, and that ends the staff report. Yes.
Anybody from the audience would like to make a comment on this plan proposal?
Bryce X, W&A Engineering, 355 Oneida Street. Good evening. The purpose of the rezone before you is to remove the binding site plan and zoning conditions that were established in 2004 for a waste transfer facility that just never came to fruition. Our client wishes to use this property to house up to 2 mobile concrete batch plants. Special use approval is being requested due to truck traffic comprising more than half of all trips generated. The proposed batch plants are the size of semi-trailers and exceed the truck traffic threshold only due to the small number of personnel that are required to operate them. The proposed use will have no adverse effects on neighboring properties, which are all zoned for industrial and employment uses and largely vacant. And as the staff report points out, the property is close to the loop and highways 29 and 72, which will lessen any burden on local roads. The short-term plan for the property is for the placement of a single batch plant on site, and if it proves itself to be successful, a second mobile plant will follow, as is shown on the site plan. The trip numbers that are cited in the report are a theoretical maximum that are highly unlikely to ever actually be achieved. I should add that we have no issues with the proposed conditions of approval, and I also look forward to answering any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the audience? If not, that's Commissioner Thornton's district. Commissioner Thornton, any comments you'd like to make?
I'm sorry I have not really looked at this, but I know where you're talking about. And it would, I'm sorry I have not looked at this. I've been all into future land use maps and data centers, so this did not jump to my radar. But I do know where you're talking about. That area, it seems that it would be very conducive to the area that you're talking about. It does not disturb residents. So for now, unless something really jumps out, I could easily support this. Thank you.
Mr. Wright?
Yeah, my questions, Bruce, could you go up to the little square up in the right? I'm having a hard time orienting this land. Is that the best orientation to where it is geographically?
Yeah, so if you were to take Old Hall Road, leaving North Avenue, and continue straight and cross along the loop, and then as it bends, this property would be on the right.
Can you zoom to where, I've got that square zoomed up a bit. Can you do that? Because it seems to me, and I guess part of my question is the railroad functional for this business? No, okay. So that's one less neighbor behind you with the railroad. But anyway, so in the packet, Bruce, I'm not missing anything else as far as its orientation other than that. And then I can just look on Google.
That's correct.
And stuff, okay.
That's right.
But typically okay, how about going to one of the maps that shows the zoning next to it? Yeah. So is GDOT one of those
So GDOT.
neighbors?
They are, they would be to the north, I believe, off the, yeah, we didn't get an aerial that was.
That's fine. I'll go to G
that
Public
much
and just get my
send
curiosity
you.
summarized, okay? But it does seem like an appropriate use in that area. It doesn't look like there's residential backing up to any of the properties, and it's same zoning as you had said.
That's right.
With what else is there? So, Vita, I'll second it when we get to it.
Today?
No, when
when
we
we
get
get
to it.
There's not a
When we
vote
get to
needed.
it.
Unless,
Okay, yeah.
unless we discover something different.
We got 2
No,
weeks.
thank you.
We got
Thank
2
you.
weeks. I'll have.
Thank you.
Any other comments from my colleagues? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lonnie.
Okay, thank you. There are a couple other items later that have presentations. I'm just wondering, do you want me to stay or get up and leave? We'll need the screen later, but I know we got 2 items perhaps where you won't need the screen.
What 2 items? I only have one.
So we got
Future land use.
Oh,
future land
but
use.
we'll get there when we get down to
And
all
the-
the new business.
Okay, so,
Unless, no, I got to stay the course, so yeah.
all right, yep, I'll just,
We'll come back.
Who's trying to go home early?
Only 2 hours. Yeah, Miss Christine got snacks in their room.
She had it all locked up. You had to get special permission. You want some do you need some peanuts?
Oh, no, we were offering it to Bruce.
Oh. He was trying to stay in Gavin's spot. Musical chairs.
So at this particular time, we'll go into old and new business, and that would include items 6 through 18. Ma'am. I didn't hear you. Oh, sorry. On the consent agenda, Christine? Okay. What I'll do, then let me just go ahead then, we'll just go ahead and start with number 1. And,
No, 4.
I'm sorry, number 4. And since there was some questions about number 4.
Was it when I?
Commissioner Link,
Yeah, at our work session earlier this last week, we talked about some federal funds for housing purposes, and one of the proposals that wasn't recommended for funding was the Land Trust's Housing Counseling Program. I'm wondering, are these new or regular funds, and would HCD be like doling these out to nonprofits that regularly engage in this activity, or are we the ones doing the counseling? Just some details about the program that this is funding.
So Commissioner, Commissioner Link. I actually had the same question. All of these funding opportunities hit the street at the same time, so it was a bit odd to me that one of our applicants applied for housing counseling in one bucket, but didn't apply in the bucket that was specifically for housing counseling. The funds are not new. They originate from a commission budget initiative a few years ago where we previously funded this out of federal funds, but as those funds became more competitive and scarce, we shifted this to a general fund responsibility. And that applicant you speak of has previously applied for this grant and received funding under it. They just didn't submit
They
this
didn't
time.
apply, just didn't apply for this one, okay. Yeah, I was just confused, because it's like, seems to be the same purpose.
Commissioner Myers.
Yeah, I probably was confused too, actually, having just listened to that work session. But I did have a question about this. I noticed that in this one, there were some stats on performance objectives, I think, there. But it listed several things for this fiscal year, I believe, that isn't complete yet, that goes through December 31st, that haven't been reached, like becoming a certified HUD housing counseling agency and hosting 3 financial literacy housing presentations. Are those things was there any update from the organization whether or not those were expected to be completed in the remaining 6 months of this year? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think we'll need to follow up.
Okay.
Come to the podium, please.
So one of the requirements for this program is that they have certified housing counselors. They don't have to be a certified housing counseling agency. So you have currently from FY '25 and '26, you have one agency that is a certified housing counseling agency. You have one that has certified housing counselors. They are working on it, but that does take some time. But they are dedicated and are continuing the training that's required through HUD to do so.
Okay.
They have till June 30th.
And the financial literacy prison,
They are providing those services,
Oh.
but they were, in the first part, they were building capacity to get to the point where they had more than one certified housing counselor.
Okay.
And since January, they have started
Okay,
the
so maybe
rest.
these numbers are, because it says 0, here have been done, so maybe these are,
Our performance.
there's a lag.
Right, yeah,
Right.
because they're actively in the grant that doesn't end until they're,
True.
we always count for this first 6 months of activity, and the next 6 months would not show up until next year.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Bob, you want to? Go ahead, Commissioner Thornton.
I know, God, man, this mic ain't working. I know that this question has been asked to you before, and I guess I just want to reiterate it. Maybe I just need to hear it again. Those who are not funded at any type of proposal, what are their options and what is your responsibility?
For this specific type of funding or just in general? Because we have CDBG.
What do you do? All right, let's get-
Community Partnership Program and Housing Counseling. So they had an opportunity to apply, all agencies had an opportunity to apply for 3 different funding sources. If they're not being recommended, it's because it's a very competitive process. They might have scored lower, their performance might have been lower. I mean, there are many different reasons why we wouldn't recommend funding.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you, Andrew. Thank
Okay.
you.
Everybody gets comprehensive technical assistance if they ask for it. Some of them, depending upon the application that they're applying for, are required. They're not required for housing counseling, but we do provide.
That's
From the
right.
time that we release till the time the application is due, we're available to talk with them and meet with them.
And I guess my thought here is, and I wasn't being sarcastic, I just thought my question wasn't clear. I guess I am trying to make sure I understand and applicants understand, even when they are not recommended, they can come to you in your office to find out where the gaps were at or where they were short at. That's where I was headed.
Yes, if they're not recommended for funding or awarded for funding, when we send out a letter notifying them, we offer them the opportunity to schedule an appointment with us to meet and discuss the deficiencies, where we would suggest that they try to strengthen their application or their activities so that when the next application is released, they're more competitive.
Thank you.
Thank you. I did want to mention two items, and this is true also on item number 17, just so everyone is clear with. So, as Andrew had mentioned, both this item and number 17 are funded through general fund dollars. And the second part of that, and the reason that's important, is you'll note that both of these are FY27. So even though we haven't yet presented the FY27 budget, of course, this is kind of the first sort of foray into expenditures that are associated with those. And it just has to do with timing of applications and some other kinds of things. So ultimately, the action you'll be taking at the subsequent meeting is to approve the items pending the approval of the subsequent budget. But it allows staff the opportunity then to start working with the applicants to make sure everything is in line so that when the budget is approved, they're ready to go. But I just want to make sure that you all know that this is kind of the first sort of request, if you will, for something that's going to be spent in FY27, consistent with what we've done in the past, just elevating that so that you're aware of that. So, thank you.
Comments from Commissioner? Yes, Commissioner Taylor.
I would like to know, how are we measuring exactly like the overall goals of the housing counseling? Like, how do we know that the people who are going through these classes are actually getting housing or follow-up or anything like that? Do we have any measurables on it?
They all have performance measures that they have to report on. Right off the top of my head, I'm not sure if one of their measures is how many people are gaining or obtaining housing as a result of it. We could take a look at that, but I don't have that answer right off the top of my head. But they are having to report monthly as far as what their deliverables. They say they're going to do this. This is what they're telling us they're doing.
Thank you.
Any other comments from my colleagues? Thank you, Ms. Lloyd. Appreciate it. All right. Okay, then, well, we'll go ahead and move on. At this time, we're gonna go ahead and go into old and new business. These items will be items 6 through 18, and then we have 2, item 19 and 20, that are title only. If you wish to address the mayor commission on any item listed below on the old and new business, please go to the podium and state your name and address. Rules of the commission state that members of the public may speak once during the following portion of the agenda, up to 3 minutes, with a 30-second reminder at 2.5 minutes. I do want to stress a couple of things on old and new business. The staff has asked to remove item number 7 and item number 14. Item number 7 and item number 14. So, would anybody from the public like to speak on any of those items, with the exception of items 7 and 14? Anyone from the public?
Mayor Pro Tem, I think that since it's on the agenda, folks can speak to it. Am I correct? I think just point of order, they can speak to it, but it's good for them to know that
Staff
it won't
knows
be
what-
on the agenda to
Okay.
vote.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to address number 7.
Hold on. I gotta wait
Okay.
till somebody from the public comes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hopefully, we'll go down the line.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Thornton.
You know, this item has been on our agenda, and it was pulled right at the beginning of the meeting. And the applicants, because there were 2, well, official and unofficial, did not get any reason on why. I don't know, for me personally, I would like to know why number.
Oh, no, I'm just, sorry, no, this is my point of order thing. We had
Oh, it's her point, her
We
point.
were still in item 6, but thank you,
Okay.
Commissioner.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
This is my
No
girl
worries.
here, she got me
And
going.
staff is, I'm glad you brought that up.
Well,
Staff-
we'll follow, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
staff is gonna, we're gonna talk about it.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
since we did not have any public comment, and y'all excuse me for not cutting my colleague off, I didn't want to do that, I was being respectful. So we'll start with item number 6, relocation of mill houses at 110 Puritan Lane, 1060 Macon Highway for future affordable housing use. Again, that was December 2nd, 2025.
Off consent?
Pardon?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be on consent.
Commissioner Link?
Commissioner Thornton and I had been hoping to secure a means of saving these homes and moving them and getting one of our housing partners involved. But we have a deadline. We were waiting on updated estimates, and I'm wondering if the manager can speak to any of that.
Yeah, as of today, because I asked Andrew to see if we'd heard anything, so we have not received a response from the home mover that we had, so I don't know that we're gonna get one from that individual, so it may be that we either need to secure from someone else, or we just have to proceed with the assumption that that's the cost of moving the homes. I don't know whether the person thinks that we're serious about moving them or not, because we've asked for a request once. They gave us that bid with that amount. So that's, as of today, that's where we are with that piece of it.
I mean, the thing is, we have an April 15th deadline. The developer's gonna start demolishing over there, and at this point, I'm not sure we could meet that deadline, even if we do get an acceptable new estimate.
Yeah, if he stays with that timeline, which I think is what the indication, at least that you all had, was with that. We still don't actually have approval from this body to actually proceed with the project. And, I know there was some concern about whether permits could be secured. I mean, if this body said, proceed forward with it, we'd figure out how to secure the permits in the time that were necessary to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of in a chicken-egg situation. This body needs to know what the estimate would be in order to decide if we want to spend that money, and then we have another partner who, it's contingent upon us approving it for them to take it. So there's still stuff to be worked out, but the clock is ticking. We may not make it.
Yeah, and I still think it's probably relatively safe for planning purposes to assume that the cost that we've received is essentially what it's gonna cost to move those homes. That I don't anticipate there may be some reduction in the cost, but I don't believe it's gonna be nearly as significant as folks might have thought that it would be. I can't say that definitively, because he hasn't given us a response back to that request, but most of the expenses that are associated with it, putting it on the truck, traffic control plans, the utility relocations, that's all gonna still be the same piece of it. It could be lower, but I think it would be marginally lower. So I mean, for the purposes of trying to kind of contemplate how much the expense would be, I think the amounts that we gave as estimates before probably are still good estimates to kind of work off of to make any kind of determination about moving forward.
Commissioner Thornton?
Again, I'm going to say that the dollar amount wasn't significant for what matter of fact, I don't know, Andrew, did you look at that stuff I sent you?
I've not gotten anything from you, Commissioner.
Oh, here we go again, okay. I did have a finance person break it down on how much we would save or in 5 years, what that $1 million could equate to as far as people being stable, having good, decent job. And I don't think we ever look at the long-term thing. We look at $1 million, but it would have been an investment, just like you put in the bank, and the interest you grow off of it. And Andrew and I are having a hard time communicating by email, but I did send him those figures because I wanted to see was that a legitimate case to be made. But I did, after that stormy last meeting, and I do apologize, after that stormy last meeting, I did call the developer. His deadline is April the 15th. I mean, maybe April the 16th, April the 20th, but it is April the 15th. And I feel as though even if we put our pedal to the metal, we are not going to make that deadline. And I do think that we are not intentional about, not all of us are that intentional or know how serious this housing situation is, because we've been working on this since 2023 or longer. But I yield to not the dollar amount, but the time to get it done by April. I just don't see it no more. I'm not as optimistic, but I'm still as passionate.
So my understanding at our last work session, I thought the compromise was us to take those duplexes that we own and to turn into single-family homes and use those resources.
Well, I
Am
mean,
not-
it wasn't a compromise at that point, at that last meeting. This came up at the
At the work session.
at the work
Right.
session, which that was going to be my suggestion today.
Okay.
If HCD had not stepped up before today.
Yeah, it's a separate source of
Yes, a
funding,
separate
so-
source, but I'm happy with both of them. But if this got shot down and HCD did not bring their presentation, which I believe will be voted on next month, right?
Yes.
Next month, that was going to be my substitute
Okay.
CDO for the duplexes. But that's going to come next month. I'm very happy. I'm very pleased with that. And, yeah.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Yes.
We keep bringing up this $1 million amount, and, you know, from everything I see, it's $536,699 for the relocation, site prep, and abatement.
Yeah, I think what Commissioner Thornton is referring to is what we had also provided in a much earlier communication was what you can anticipate that just takes homes that aren't habitable, what it would take to actually make them habitable.
Yeah,
Right.
If
okay.
we were the ones funding.
So,
that piece.
okay, yeah, but that's not in the agenda item. And,
Correct.
you know, if these were to be given to another housing provider, it would be upon them to spend that money to make them habitable.
Correct. If there was someone else that would cover it, it would be a cost that we
Yeah,
would
it-
not incur.
It's not a public fund to make them, yeah. I mean, the clock is ticking. We'll see where we are in 2 weeks, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to point out that we have several memos also, since we've been talking about this, that do point out to, when you say the word give, we can't give. And when you put all the math together, the formula is very complicated on what we can do and how we can do it.
Yeah.
So saying that we can give them away is not part of that formula. So I would recommend that those that aren't sure where they are on this topic is to go back and read every memo that we've been given on
So-
this topic.
Can I
And
add
I just didn't want to leave that give them away statement out there as if it was something that we could actually give away.
Commissioner Lake.
So, from what I understand, the ARPA, if we have an open ARPA contract with a provider, the rules are a little different. But, you know, we're still, we'll just see where we are in 2 weeks.
I think we need to figure out where we are in 2 weeks.
And that's fine with me. Like I said, I did speak to my colleague, Commissioner Wright, and what I think one of the things that we have, and maybe it's a state regulation, I don't know, and I did mention this to Bob, there seems to me be more things that we can't do than what we can do. And some of that is legal, and as I explained to Commissioner Wright, a lot of it is just status quo. We've been doing it all this way, all of this time, and we don't even go back and see if that law is still effective. But when we do status quo and don't dig deeper, or at least try to do deeper, we contribute to the problem because we make that response. No, we can't be, every time you say you can't, that means you can't. That means you're not even going to try. That means you're not going to even look to see how you can do it. How can you help people if you don't dig a little deeper to find out what can be changed? Who in our state represented offices can make some movement? No, I'm not going to agree to status quo. I'm going to agree to helping people the best I can, and when my back is up against the wall like I was on this mill house, it's not because we can't. It is because we have waited too long down the pike to find a way out. So I just want to put that out there too.
Thank you. Any other comments on item number 6? Thank you all. Next item is item number 7, naming the East Broad Street Bridge over North Oconee River as Weaver Deeds Bridge, automated for the people. It was originally January 6, 2026, and staff have requested to hold, and I'll let.
Yeah, and so this may answer some of the questions that you all had. If you remember, the last time we actually removed this item, it was because there had been a notification requirement that had not been met. So that was why we had taken it off. At that meeting, there was quite a bit of discussion among you all about the design. There were kind of, for lack of a better description, sort of two competing interests on naming this bridge and possibly something else. I think it was Commissioner Davenport had asked for some time to actually reconvene with the family members and others that were out there. So we have held the publication that is required, waiting for that to occur. That hasn't occurred yet, which is fine. So what we're ultimately looking for is probably a 90-day delay, because what that would do is that would give Commissioner Davenport another 30 days to kind of have that conversation. Depending on what comes out of that, then the 60-day notice will proceed at that point. So that's ultimately why we've said we'd like to have it come off really for that 90-day window.
Yes. Commissioner Thornton.
So if this had proceeded to next month for a vote, we still would have to do a public notice?
There has to be a public notice wherever we settle, and it has to be a 60-day publication. But
That's fine.
Yes.
Commissioner Davenport, any comments?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, so staff will request we put a hold for 90 days on item number 7.
I think hold for 30 days or 60 days already.
No, it'll be 90 days, because what it'll do,
got the
within the
public
30
notice.
days, we'll work with you to figure out
Okay.
what is it going to be named by whom, and then the results of that will require a 60-day notification.
6-day public notice, yeah, 90 days. Okay. Okay, thank you all. Next item is item number 8, proposed 2045 future land use map update, and Mr. Lundy will come back, and I will step back down.
All right. I am going to spare you a long-winded presentation tonight. I just wanted to give you a status report on where we are since this item was held at your February voting session. We had a quick overview of why we were doing this, and we've had good conversation with a number of commissioners since the February meeting, revisiting these big ideas for why we're doing the future land use map, kind of walking through our process so far. This all rests with you at this point. And like I say, the conversations we've had have been really productive. A reminder, the Planning Commission took action on this, and they sent it forward to you with a recommendation of approval for the map itself, for the future land use categories and the narrative descriptions of each of those, and then Table 9.4 that's out of our development code that is a compatibility matrix that translates the future land use into zoning. And that produced this map. Here's the compatibility matrix. And so those commissioner requested edits that have been coming in, we've had a number of discussions, and what you have in a handout before you, I'm going to show on the screen also. At this point, what we have developed is what we've been calling the Link-Myers-Wright CDO. And the CDO itself has not been written, but we have the map changes that have been discussed with each of these commissioners for their districts. So what you see on the screen, and like I say, in your packet there, we have a map for District 2, and there are a number of inset boxes on here that are numbered. That sheet that's on top of your packet is an itemized list of those property-by-property changes that were worked through with these three commissioners. But there are all those changes are what's represented on these maps. So the maps you have are reflective of those changes. So this is for District 2. Let's see. Come on. Commissioner Myers' district, District 8, there was one property that was changed, and you can kind of see the inset map, number 7, towards the middle of the screen near the vet school, which is the biggish navy blue box. This is that property kind of at the terminus of College Station Road. The terminus. And then District 4 had a handful of changes. All of them are kind of clustered up towards the top of the screen in inset box 8. A number of those were in a joint discussion between Commissioners Link and Wright. And those were worked through, and we've mapped them. And then Commissioner Myers also had a text change to 2 of the descriptions, one for minor corridor and one change for mixed-density residential. And the theme of the change is remarkably similar in both of the changes, and that is to weave in the notion of green spaces and plazas and activated third spaces in these designations. So the language that was changed and suggested to be changed is in green on the screen. There you go.
There you go.
So at this point, this is what we have in the form of a commission-defined option to alter the map. Barring some other changes that may come to light, this is what would be coming forward to you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about next steps and what is likely to happen between now and the April vote.
Commissioner Lake?
Yeah, I want to thank staff for all their patience and the many hours they've spent with me and Commissioner Wright also and we had a really productive joint meeting with some of our constituents in the Cobham Boulevard Nexus. Because some of the primary concerns were, how the very dense downtown land use meets these very traditional historic neighborhoods with much smaller scale construction. And I think we came up with something that works for us. We should be hearing from some of the constituents with some comments from the neighborhood association. I expect that to happen. I want to point out that another thing that I requested changed was the area around Lay Park, which was initially on the future land use map as downtown. I asked that it be changed to neighborhood mixed density residential. That's another area where you can get that buffer between downtown and your residential neighborhoods, and the hope is that will maintain the character of that area and prevent the really tall, dense, student housing-oriented future development. And there's also the little historic neighborhood in the Elizabeth Street area, and I asked that retain a neighborhood residential designation in the hopes of retaining that small historic neighborhood. There were some areas on Hawthorne Extension. You know, we've had some zoning questions there where that commercial corridor had grabbed the residential, single-family residential properties behind it. So I asked that the land use be reverted to neighborhood residential. Some of that's on the Donna Street neighborhood as well, which is a really sweet little single-family neighborhood off of Hawthorne. I think there were a couple Prince Avenue properties that we asked go to a minor corridor that were downtown. You know, there's the little vet office and the historic building where the flagpole is. We feel like that's an area that is, you know, deserves to be that buffer between downtown and the, you know, historic neighborhoods. So I think that kind of covers it. But I want to thank Commissioner Myers for her language here. This is great. I'm really glad you came up with that, with the addition of the idea of green space in these land uses.
Commissioner Wright?
I think it's really appropriate to have all the green up there today. I'm just saying.
Great.
I think
That's why I didn't wear any
It
green.
goes nicely with the day. I feel like we used the time wisely when we delayed this to meet, so one, I could try to understand what Melissa's thinking, but I think I got the gist of it, as well as understanding how I wanted that applied or not applied in my area close to Bottle Works. And so those changes were made very interactively with staff and engaging there and helping us understand. On that note, I totally forgot to add a change that Commissioner Hamby wanted. Might you be able to zoom in to the 5 Points area so I can just give you guys a heads up of a detail that's going to come forward? Because once I explained to Commissioner Hamby the philosophy that Commissioner Link and I were using in those more walkable business areas, he had wanted that applied on Lumpkin leaving 5 Points area. So I don't.
That's with what I have prepared tonight.
Okay, all right.
The
okay,
5 Points
good.
area is
So-
right next to the
So you don't have
legend.
our packet. So I won't go into any of this detail, but just y'all know that that same philosophy is, I'll be meeting with Bruce so that I can show you where that gray turning to yellow is, like we were doing around Bottle Works and the walkability stuff there, and it not being a minor corridor type thing. But just because I can zoom in on it on my packet doesn't mean you can, is what you're telling me.
That's right.
Okay, all right, understood. So, but if anybody has any questions about these changes, that just let us know. Again, we have 2 weeks till we'll hopefully, but I think we're there. We are so close to getting this over the finish line.
And
Except-
Commissioner Myers, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, thank everyone for all of their work, of course, if we repeat that. I do want to say that one of the things, and again, there's only one little parcel here for District 8, but I think the same thing applies in different areas where you have there's a parcel that I'm referring to here, which is actually presently zoned RS25. And the suggestion here is to change it from minor corridor to traditional neighborhood. And I think what people have to realize is, and remember again and again and again, is that the future land use is not the zoning, but it provides the argument for asking for a rezone. And in fact, with the neighborhood residential for this area, for example, you can argue, using neighborhood residential, that it could be RM1 or RS5 with a whole lot more density. And so I think that's important for people to realize, and really the word, when you're talking about the buffer or the step down, that's what a lot of this is about. In terms of the wording, I want to thank my my very diligent future land use member, Kent Middleton, for pointing this out to me. And then my own studious looking at all the descriptions of the different categories. And these two were ones that did not mention the green space and the walkability in there, even though it made logical sense. And I think that was just an oversight. There's so many moving pieces to this. So it actually makes it more parallel with some of the other categories in that it addresses the walking, play areas, green space, and make it so that even in these denser places, it's also livable as well. So should I assume then from my colleagues as well that the rest of you are, the rest of you do not have changes and that we're going to move forward with this? I
I'm
hope.
going to surprise you.
You're gonna, because that mean, like, I only had that one thing, but, Melissa had that's a whole lot of changes, little changes there. But, usually the categories that are being changed, there's a big overlap in what kind of zoning is allowed in those for the most part, with dropping off or adding some of the things at the extreme side. So I hope we have this all together and settle it and we can work without any surprises in April.
Commissioner Link, not come at you, Commissioner Morton. Commissioner Link.
Let Commissioner Thornton go ahead. I've already spoken.
I was really hoping that it would have been Link, Myers, Wright, and Thornton, CDO. But because I'm still trying to get infrastructure, sewer and water in my area, it didn't fit.
Well, there's still time.
No. It didn't fit with Link, Myers, Wright, and Thornton.
Okay.
It's Thornton by herself.
Okay.
And I am working with the staff. We chose not to, it's still some more work to be had.
Okay.
So where you're able to do green space and plazas, we're still trying to figure out water and sewer. So that's why ours will probably stand alone. But there will be something from District 9 that I hope we get your support. But yours were more, well, yours is more whatever. But ours will be strictly around infrastructure and sewer and water.
And the commissioner's been, to her credit, she's been working with us on this
Okay.
through the same period you all have as well. So it's a.
Oh, y'all opened the door. When you did that, I'm like, okay, let me go in there. So you opened the door for it. So yes.
Commissioner Link.
Yeah, I'd like to get an idea of next steps. In some of the conversations I've had with my constituents, we definitely the number of land uses categories has expanded, and you have a lot of overlap in zoning. So when we are moving on to our next step, the best way I've been able to explain it is this land use is kind of a form-based code. It does, some of the criteria does talk about number of stories and things like that. But the land use would guide whether or not a particular zoning or design would be approved in a rezone. So how do we move forward in embedding that in code? Like right now, it seems kind of like, it would be up to the Planning Commission, but it's not embedded in code. Like minor corridor encourages 2 to 4 story buildings, basically. So if someone were to come in and ask for a rezone to CN on a minor corridor, CN allows up to 6 stories. But is the Planning Commission obligated to not approve a 6-story building on a minor corridor by code, or is it just kind of willy-nilly up to them, or how do we get to a place where these new land use designations are embedded into code and are clearly influencing our rezones and the design of new structures in rezoning.
Okay,
hope that
I'll
makes sense.
I'll take a swing. So the language that you have, some of it on the screen, is qualitative in nature, so these are goal statements, these are things we aspire to. Heights can be for context when they're referenced, but they're not law. So the zoning categories that would implement this have the ability to work with these qualitative statements, but then put something in place that maybe is slightly different, but it meets the spirit of what that was said for future land use. So you've already authorized a resolution at your last meeting that set us in motion working on some text amendments, actually, that are going to help implement a lot of the goals that are in the future land use map. So the GIC subcommittee's action plan, we're already working on that. The Planning Commission heard that presentation at their meeting this month. There is a subcommittee that's been formed to start drafting text amendments that will hit the mark on that resolution, but there are also things that are going to implement the goals of this future land use map. The other thing that is an implementation tool are small area plans where we can look at corridors, we can look at neighborhoods, we can start to consider, is it something that needs its own unique zoning district, or perhaps an overlay, which is also a tool that we have in our code to be able to use, where we have context that's maybe different on one corridor than another. We can begin to hit some of these marks with things that we would bring to you through the Planning Commission to look at each qualitative difference in those areas. We're already working on the Alps-Hawthorne corridor through that Connect grant, and that process is looking at land use. So coming off the heels of the North Avenue project, where land use was not looked at comprehensively with the corridor, this is what we're going to do differently with the Alps-Hawthorne project, is look at land use and the corridor improvements, and the future land use map's going to help inform that as well.
And maybe another piece I would add to it also is there's also a kind of private sector opportunity to response too, because someone could come in, seek a rezoning, for example, to a planned development that would actually attempt to implement the goals that are in that piece absent or while those other activities are going on. So there's a couple different avenues depending on how it ultimately gets approached, whether it's through a planning or through an ordinance text amendment or through private development. So I think you have kind of those three options.
Taylor,
I'll send you an email.
what I do want to add, and I've said this, I still think somewhere along the line, our zoning and our codes don't have to be updated. To Commissioner Link's point, how we tie all that in, somewhere with our code, our zoning codes are 30 years old. But we need to really bring them up to today's standard, and we need, somewhere along the line, we got to start planning that and start working on those things when we're talking about our future land use, how that's going, what that's going to look like. So I think we need to be mindful of that moving forward. Commissioner Thornton.
I think what Bruce Lonnie is saying, that you have started working on zoning revisions and ideas. There's a committee from the GIC committee, and then I think you added some folk from the Planning Commission. Is that right? Now, I will say that I hope that the Planning Commission also reflects their insight will look how discriminatory some of our zoning codes are, if that makes sense. I'm gonna just leave it like that. That's probably a conversation I need to have with Bob, but they are working, from what I understand, Bob, on reviewing and revising the zoning codes.
Yeah, and I think to kind of pick up on both of those, what the Commissioner has said and what Bruce has indicated, and I'll have a little bit more of this in my update this week, but I think we anticipate the first couple of those coming forward in this summer. So, I mean, I think there's some aspects that could move sooner than others. Part of what our initial focus is on those aspects that we can change that will directly affect and benefit housing. So that's kind of the priority. And then after that, it probably is going to be best to bring things forward in packages rather than every month you've got a text amendment coming forward. But the housing ones have kind of been accelerated so that we can move quicker on those. And again, 2 of those will be coming forward as soon as this summer. So.
Any other comments from commissioners? Thank you, Mr. Lund.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along, we'll go ahead and start with item number 9, which is text amendment title 9 of the Code of Ordinance to regarding data centers, March 3rd, 2026. Any comments from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Wright.
If nobody has any comments, can we put it on consent? Or does it need to be out there
We
longer?
plan on getting a memo out to y'all
Right.
Okay,
first of next week, hopefully on Monday, answering all the questions that you had.
okay,
And hopefully that will
Right.
inform some of the changes you want to recommend going back to the planning commission.
okay.
Yeah, I think because remember, we're marching toward
Yes.
a return back to the planning commission with further instructions.
But this is
We've al-
what we need in place while that timeline is happening.
Well,
Or
the
maybe not.
moratorium
It's
was
already been
extended.
extended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Commissioner
I was just clarifying that process again, so when it comes back up, I mean, theoretically, we could all go, hey, we read your memo and we love it, and let's forget about sending it back and approve it. Or we could send it back to say, we wanna, do we table, we vote to, table, to send it back to the
Send it
planning
back.
commission?
You can't
With
table it. We've already
direction.
tabled it, so you have to
Okay,
send
right,
it
we
back.
take it, right, send it back to the
Back to the-
planning commission with some direction on looking into A, B, and C.
Yes.
Okay, those are, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and go into new business. Item number 10, Fairhaven Tuberculosis Sanitarium Local Historic Landmark Destination.
Move to consent.
That can't be on consent, right, because it's a public hearing? Or that's,
It can or
that
can't.
can't be on consent? Okay,
Okay.
Okay, we'll leave off
all right. Next,
Okay.
down to 11.
11, ACC Vision Zero Safety Action Plan.
Yeah. I'd love,
Consent?
Yes, for me.
yeah, I'd love to put it on consent, but I also want to speak to it right now.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Myers.
Okay. I want to say thank you to the Clerk of Commission for this hard copy of this, first of all, because it's a really good report. And I did put some ideas together because it really prompted a lot of thought on my part. And so, humor me if this goes a few seconds over 3 minutes. I want to thank TPW for their efforts in getting this grant, for the grant that funded this plan. One that I hope we keep on our shelves and gets dog-eared. It's really important to know that this was not funded from our local budget, and it is not money that could have been spent on something else. And staff, you just correct me if I say anything that's wrong here, okay? It's also important to know that this plan, like, in order to apply for a whole bunch of implementation grants that actually build stuff, you have to have this plan. And so it is step one in getting potentially millions of dollars. What's really cool about it is the way it lines up with this T-SPLOST, because you also, for all these these grants that you can get that go from like 5 million to 30 million, you have to have 20% of the funding. Well, several of the T-SPLOST projects for 2026 line up with the dangerous corridors here. So that means that TPW can apply for projects where there's an overlap between what's outlined in the plan and what's in our T-SPLOST, and either, save some T-SPLOST money or make sure we have enough money to expand or follow through on everything we said we were going to do. So that's one thing. I also want to I'm going in a little touchy territory here, but I want to say that this Safe Streets federal grant specifically says that the money should be used to eliminate roadway fatalities and injuries for all users, and then list pedestrians, bicyclists, public transportation users, motorcyclists, personal conveyance, and micro-mobility users. I guess that's all the scooters, and commercial operators. And that's really good because we've had like 73 deaths since 2019 and 345 crashes since then. And I want to say something gently here. I want to take a moment to say that I hope we can stop blaming the money spent on bike safety and lanes for our not having solved all the many social challenges in Athens. Something I've heard a lot, and I hear on the campaign trail when I'm listening to stuff, because really the record needs to be corrected. Because I don't believe any money, this correction needed, any money from the general budget has been used on bike infrastructure since I joined the commission. It needs to be understood that any money received for federal transportation grants and from SPLOST, which is the primary source for bike and pedestrian projects, safety, can only be spent on transportation projects. So that means we can't move that money around to homelessness or affordable housing or youth programming or water or sewer lines. We need to work on those issues, and I am here to work on those with you all. But we can't do that by taking the money we use to fund this plan or for those transportation things. And finally, I got to talk about this poor man who died just in the last month over on Olympic Drive on an e-bike. He was returning from his job at Panda Express by the Kroger's on Highway 29. He was married and a father of a 4-year-old. He was using, I looked this up, he was using an e-bike that had front and back lights for transportation. And why was he doing this? This is what I'm thinking. It's probably because in total it cost him about $300 to $500 to buy that e-bike. And that's less than the cost of a car for a month. Okay, so we talk about affordable housing all the time, but we need to acknowledge the need for affordable transportation, and we need to make it safe, whether it's walking, biking, or using the bus. I want to work on all the issues, but I want to stop demonizing the money that we spend on sidewalks and more importantly, the ones we demonize on bikes. So that's all I have to say. Hopefully I kept it light enough, and I just urge everyone to really read this report. It's a very helpful report.
Mrs. Thornton.
I hope I don't demonize the bikes now. I don't think anybody, or let me know, I don't know about it. I think that I have this stereotype that I don't like bikes, or it's not that at all. When I look at my district, you can't walk down the street or on a pavement because there's no pavement. I do have some figures on what we spent on bike paths, and I will make sure you get it again, because Sarah got it for me before. She can get it again, on how much we have put in bike paths, trails, compared to infrastructure. Now, I think that is one thing that we can all agree to, is that the same passion that you have for bikes, maybe we can share that with housing and pavements. So you're making us, when you said that, it sounded like it was more of a divide, and it's not a divide. The more you said, I don't want to demonize, you made it more demonic. It's just as important. Bikes are just as important. I wish I could ride a bike. I really do. But I did do that. But I sure enough know I need a roof over my head. So it's not that. But I'm going to give you those figures, and you can explain it to all of us how and why and when we put more into bike paths, trails, and them little paths than we did on infrastructure. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Wright.
Yeah, I fully support this, and what I want to emphasize and make sure we don't lose track of, because engineering is such a big part of this in the built infrastructure, the education and the enforcement has got to maintain a high priority in here. Let me just run through a little list from the Wright family. 1995, I was hit head on campus from a gentleman who was not paying attention, took the turn in my lane, which I was already in. I lose my car, I'm in physical therapy. It can turn your world upside down without it killing you. And so we're talking about zero, which seems to me to be obvious that we want no zero deaths, but it could turn your world upside down. Let's go to 2015 when my son's riding his bike to Clark Central, and the distracted driver there turns right on from Village onto Lumpkin, takes my son down with his bike. This is the kind of thing, it's a distracted driver. We have got to punish them, we've got to find them, we got to let people know to pay attention when you're driving a car. 2014, my husband, who cycles to his job at UGA at the art department, he's waiting his turn in the left turning lane with his bike, and the young lady behind him coming up to the left lane doesn't see him. Is she distracted? I believe so. He quit riding his bike and started walking to school, walking to work. 2019, my son's in the left turning lane on Barnett Shoals, waiting his turn to go through the light safely. He watches a car coming towards him. It drifts from the the lane where the curb is into the next lane, and then it's in the turning lane of facing him and comes straight through, hits him head on. She flips upside down. Her car's totaled. She walks away. His car's totaled. He walks away. His passenger walks away. These people's worlds are turned upside down. I don't know if she had another car for her work, another distracted driver. And then 2024, I'm driving on Baxter in my lane, and a young lady comes into the left lane and doesn't even acknowledge my presence there. She hits me head on. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention, she tells me. Y'all, this turns people's worlds upside down. They're losing. Everybody knows you can't replace a car once it's been totaled from insurance. We have got to have education for people and enforcement of hands-free driving and people paying attention when they're driving. And then nobody here was impaired, but the impaired drivers, them as well. This is a serious thing that we have got to, I'm gonna ask and try to learn if we can't have stricter citations and things for the distracted drivers and help with the enforcement policy of it, because I don't think the tickets that are being written are affecting the people's behavior at all. And yes, 0 deaths for sure, but y'all, just an accident. I've had enough. We all walked away, thankfully, but it does shake you up.
Thank you. Commissioner Lake?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Commissioner Wright. I would like some more information on enforcement. I mean, the gentleman who was hit on the e-bike and killed, apparently the driver who hit him had 6 DUIs under his belt.
Crazy.
Like, I don't understand how anybody like that keeps a license. And some of these, I mean, my mother was hit in a crosswalk by a distracted driver who was not looking where he was going. He was looking at the traffic coming at him on a left turn, and yeah, it turned our family's life upside down. She had a stroke and a head injury, and is still never the same. In the last 2 years of my father's life, it really robbed him of her care in a lot of ways. So yeah, I mean, this Vision Zero plan is great, and we need to change our roads and make it harder for people to drive fast. But I do believe we need to ramp up enforcement because, you know, we've got the street racers. I hear them on Prince Avenue every night. They speed through some of our neighborhoods. I see the donuts in the middle of North Avenue. You know, and speaking of North Avenue, thank God that grant was renewed. Now we have a document that can inform us moving forward with significant changes to that corridor because there are lots of deaths and accidents and injuries on that corridor. There was one right around Christmas time. I believe it was last year we had somebody jump the curb up onto the sidewalk and kill someone. We've had multiple pedestrians killed crossing that road. So, you know, we have some clear data and recommendations and objectives in this document that can clearly inform us of how we proceed forward in addressing that corridor.
So,
We're gonna take one more slab and then we need to move on.
All right.
Commissioner Morris.
Hi. Yeah, I'm going to say something that Commissioner Thornton is going to be surprised at me saying. The truth is, I wasn't on the commission for when it was all put together for SPLOST 2023. I think I was like, you know, just coming on. But the fact of the matter is, when I looked at that list, I said to myself, that's going to create backlash. I said, because there is too much there on there. And I will admit that to you. I said that. I've probably said it to some other people, but it was when I was on there.
Wait a minute. Let's all be clear what you're talking about.
What I mean is that the proportion, like this time, the proportion of the T-SPLOST projects now, it's much more, we have a lot on pavement, we have a lot on other things and such. And back then, I remember saying to myself, there's going to be backlash to this. And that's one of the reasons why last year I pushed and let's make sure we have the pavement, we have this, we have that, which was, you know, so I do want to tell you that I am aware of that as well. And I remember having thought that. I'll probably be, you know, it'll probably be all commented on Reddit now tonight, but that's the reality, and here we are today. So what I'm hoping is we can work together.
That's
You
right.
know, I've been there for you for affordable housing things. I will still work with that, and so forth. But actually, the real big point here is TPW and the consultants. You guys did a great job. This is a really good, a good report. There's a lot of specifics in here to work with, and I really appreciate that. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for the county to get more money in here based on this report, and that'll make it easier so we can use money in other directions. So
Okay,
that's
well,
it.
we need to move on. I think
I just wanted to tell her she's welcome.
Okay,
Is it
yeah.
on consent or not?
Yeah. as long as it's-
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You get that, Ms. Christie? Thank you. Next item number 12, North Avenue TAD Advisory Committee Community Identified Priority List. Consent,
It's consent with a comment.
okay?
I hear but commissioners are not encouraged to be involved with the TAD and the TAD groups. Not encouraged. We can go, we can say something, but we're not encouraged. And when I looked at the questionnaire, the survey that went out, it seemed like cut and paste and very generic. I cannot understand why in my district there was not a question about homelessness. Homelessness is the root of North Avenue, and there is nothing on our identified priority list that addresses homelessness. So I just want to put that out there that all the districts are different. They are different. And nobody has the homeless population like I do.
I'll just speak to that one. Mayor and Commission, y'all voted when the tags were established to have 4 priority areas for the funds to be used. One was affordable housing, which isn't, I mean, there's some overlap with homelessness, but it isn't necessarily homelessness. One is public infrastructure, one is economic development partnerships, and the 4th is youth development with CCSD. But I will say, looking at the survey results from this district, homelessness is mentioned as one of the things that community members are mentioning as part of the priority list and what they're noticing the needs for the district are.
And we did that because some of our TAD members actually went out and made sure people filled out surveys. And that's probably why homelessness is mentioned, but is not listed as a priority. And I do think that even though the commission voted on those 4 things, there's got to be a line that says other, because we probably might have missed something like homelessness. But it's no issue. We'll tackle it, but I did want to bring that. And Daniel, you've done a great job.
Yeah, Daniel got out and rode the transit lines
Yep.
to ask people to fill out the survey. So I do want to give Daniel a shout out and thank him for all of his efforts along with the TAD committee members to gather input.
Commissioner Link.
Yeah, I mean, B is housing priorities, and number 3 under B is transitional housing and assistance for unhoused individuals and families. I mean, to me, that speaks to homelessness.
I'm just looking at the regular priority list here.
Oh, what they were asked. I mean, homelessness, you know, fell under housing priorities, and clearly people mentioned
We got it.
homelessness.
We got it.
I mean, again, you know, we've got that North Avenue corridor. We've got this list of public infrastructure needs. That includes safer sidewalks and crosswalks and trees, improved lighting, public transit and shelters. Those are the kinds of things that we can keep in mind as we address that. You know, we need to start thinking of all these plans and projects and funding sources working together.
Commissioner Danforth, you had your hand up? Oh, okay.
Consent.
Consent? Thank you. Next item on item number 13, order bid 26012, transit hybrid bus energy storage system rehabilitation.
Consent.
Consent.
Simple question, so, I know.
All right, y'all. What's your question, Commissioner Danforth?
Just on history, on 5 and 6, it says on transit salt replacement of 2 diesel electric hybrid bus battery packs due to failure. 6 ESS units for the 2018 diesel electric hybrid fleet will be replaced in the FY26 as part of the midlife. So is it 2 battery packs have been replaced or 6?
6.
Okay, 6. That's it.
Allison.
Yeah,
Battery
Allison.
packs,
Yeah,
just saying.
Allison battery pack.
Consent?
Consent.
Item 14, staff asked to pull, but Georgia Transportation Trust Fund Program application, but any questions from my colleagues?
Consent.
No,
Is
it
everything
asked
in there?
pull. Staff want to pull it.
Is it gonna come
You
back to
wanna,
us?
you wanna come in on it, Andrew?
Sure. Georgia DOT has indicated that they have would like some further discussion on what the grant funds are used for. Because it's a apportionment grant, we don't feel like any funding is at risk of being lost. And so once we've had those discussions and kind of look at the audit and their plan, we'll come back with a revised approach.
Sorry, I got a little excited. Looking forward to leaving.
All right, next item number 15, SPLOST 2020, Project 25, East Side Library Project, award proposed construction service contract award.
Consent.
No,
It can't go on
They
consent
don't-
because
they
there's
haven't
no
awarded it
construction.
yet.
They have been awarded.
Yeah.
We should pull that, we pull that one also.
No,
We expect pricing.
Okay,
We're waiting, they're waiting.
I
to
have
make
one,
decisions.
question?
one quick question. Could you guys include, like you did for Satterfield Park, you have a schematic of the park stuff in the next one, but you don't have any schematic of the library nor that crosswalk. So if there is any schematic to throw in there for us, I just want to say, we are really excited about this construction bid, so I hope we have something to vote on, and that construction does start this summer, and that it opens in the summer of 2027, which, we want to keep in mind as we work on the budget for next year, so that someone is planning on how to manage and open that and where to put the shelving units and such.
Yeah, and I'm just going to, again, reiterate that right now, everything remains on schedule, because I know there's been some questions
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that, and it's on schedule. We anticipated April is when we would bring this forward, and that's when we'll do, and
Great.
if all
Yeah,
goes
I
according to
am-
plan.
I am so excited.
You got, yes, Commissioner Taylor?
I just wanted to ask a question since I'm still new. Because I am still new. This is a SPLOST project, right? But my question is, because it's a library and it's helping all of the youth of Athens, Judd, is there any way that we can get like an IGA with the school board for them to pay for half of it, or mind my business?
I think that might be difficult, but we could certainly, we could certainly approach them, see if they'd be willing to.
That's right, let's share the cost.
I don't know,
I'm just
I don't know
wondering.
enough,
If
I don't
it's-
want to say it off the cuff. I don't know if they can use that funding in that manner. I think
Oh,
there's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
restrictions on what the Board of Education can do with funds, but,
Yeah, we need to start some partnerships
so
so
I
we
don't
can
know the
save some
answer
money.
to that.
There's gotta be something, programming and
For
some,
staffing,
a lot of
we could
after-school
think of-
stuff.
We could, when it comes to staffing it, we maybe should talk about partnerships.
Commissioner Danforth?
I just got a question. So it looks like, when I was reading the agenda, that by April, we would have had decided who's gonna be the contractor, because there's a March 18th deadline. So that's how I was like, can we just put it on consent, because it will probably have a bidder by April.
April, by board meeting.
Yeah, but is that
We
Is
need
that
to-
our
we need to
timeline?
know who
What
the
the
bidder
staff, what
is.
y'all recommend, staff?
I would not recommend consent because we don't know if those bids will be within the context of the budget. And then Georgia procurement law, it's just best to have everything stand alone.
Okay.
Okay, keep it off.
Off consent. Okay. 16, another SPLOST 2020 project, Satterfield Park Improvement, consent.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. Item number 17, Community Partnership Program funding recommendations. I know there may be some questions about that. From my colleagues.
Can we just pull it?
Keep it
Well,
off.
we don't have any, there's nothing
Oh.
there yet.
Well, okay.
When are we going, when do we, this is the agreement with the Classic Center Authority? Are we on
No.
that one? Oh, okay.
No, no, no.
Oh,
the
sorry,
partnership.
sorry,
No.
I jumped ahead,
No.
I jumped ahead.
You jumped
Okay,
ahead.
I jumped way ahead.
No, you jumped ahead.
Way,
This is our community partnership program. We talked
yeah,
about
yeah,
it in
I,
our,
yeah, no,
And
no,
I would like
read,
to talk
I read.
about it a little bit more, but I don't want
with our
to.
work session.
That's not,
So consent or not?
Not for me.
nope,
I say no.
Okay.
not yet.
Ms. Christine, you got that? Thank you. Now, item number 18, Victims of Crime Act Grant Renewal for Solicitor General's Office.
Consent.
Consent.
Okay. And again,
That's it.
hold on. Item 19 and 20 is title only. There won't be any, talk on that. All righty, so let's go back to,
Mayor Pro Tem,
yes.
can we ask the manager's office when we will get number 19? Because I like, it seems like that could be
That's an IGA, that's what.
and 20, but the
attorney-
19 looks, what?
With the attorney's
looks-
office.
The attorney. When we have it, I mean,
I sent the draft of the intergovernmental agreement to the Classic Center Authority today related to funding of this, the Arena District Development Facilitator. And I'm happy to share it with you. I haven't got I don't anticipate there'll be any issues with them. I'm happy to send it out to you if you'd like. I'll send it out the first thing in the morning to all of you.
okay, that'd be great.
If any of the commissioners got,
Working on the agenda item today.
Okay,
So it'll be ready by April.
okay.
so nobody has a copy right now.
No, that's why it's title only.
If it's not ready, why don't we just push it?
Excuse me?
If it's not ready, why not push it? There's a deadline for submitting agendas.
The mayor sets the agenda and
Right.
he wants it on the agenda.
Yeah.
He wants to usurp the rules. Okay.
Well, he just has it. No,
Yeah.
he-
Okay,
So it'll be, we got 2 weeks till the vote.
right.
Will it be on the, will it be added to the agenda?
That's the mayor's call.
No, we will.
It was,
Yes.
I was
you've
thinking
been
would
working on it in a sufficient time for the staff.
I would think it would be, but again, I'm not gonna speak for the mayor, but
I mean, I certainly anticipate from what the attorneys explained, unless there's something that we're missing, I would fully anticipate it will be included in the agenda packet, just like you would all the other items. So, yeah.
I guess I was asking if, in advance of the Thursday before the Tuesday, you know, like sufficient time for
Yeah,
for
that-
residents to read it.
I mean, it sounds like, well,
I'll send the IGA out to y'all tomorrow. I just sent the Class Center Authority today, and you can, I can't speak to when the agenda item will be ready.
Okay.
But the IGA pretty much summarizes everything if you read the whereas clauses.
okay. Can we get a motion? Sure.
I can speak to the last item really quickly, number 20, if you want to.
What's up with that?
Oh, number
It's
20.
title only.
I thought I said 19 and 20.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's it's related to the national opioid settlement involving 6 regional distributors and defendants. As you know, from time to time, y'all been asked to approve resolutions to allow us to join in these settlements. We're represented by the local firm here has been representing since before I got here in this litigation. And it's just allowing us to participate in this class action settlement. So I anticipate that Courtney will have that resolution ready by the end of the week, and I'll tell her to send it out to you, but it will be pretty much the same as the others.
Do we know what the amount is, Judge?
I don't.
Okay.
And Judge, will the, the money that comes from it, will it be like an RFP process for people who?
That'll be up to the
organizations?
manager's office.
Oh,
There are
sorry.
certain things that money can be used for. It's restricted, but I'm not sure.
Oh.
I know Bob has requested information about how much money is available, because that money's been accumulating in an account, and it's probably has a plan for what he
Yeah,
plans to
so
do.
I talked briefly about that kind of in sort of the one-year plan going forward. So I would anticipate shortly after the budget approval, bringing some kind of work session item forward to talk about kind of plans to move forward. So.
Okay.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Hour and a half, guy.